Ms. Fulton, in your written answers to advanced policy questions, you were asked if troops that are part of religious groups who advocate for socially conservative changes to law should be punished. You responded that as long as they are, quote, acting within the confines of federal law and DOD policy, they should be allowed to exercise their First Amendment rights of free speech and to observe the tenets of their religion. However, on June 30th, 2014, you stated, once again, religious freedom, which you put in quotes, is twisted to mean conservative Christians can dictate their views to the rest of us. I suppose this was in response to the Supreme Court's Hobby Lobby decision. You also advocated for the repeal in that statement of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which I presume you know was passed almost unanimously by this Congress. It was signed by President Clinton, and it was voted for by President Joe Biden. That law requires the government to demonstrate a compelling government interest before it burdens any person's individual right to freedom of exercise of religion. So if you are confirmed for this position, you'll be in charge of DOD religious policies. You'd have responsibility for overseeing chaplains and religious accommodations. Yet you believe the Religious Freedom Restoration Act is apparently being twisted by conservative Christians to dictate their views to the rest of us. So which is it, Mrs. Fulton? Are you actually going to protect the religious freedom of troops and chaplains, or are you going to ensure that they can't dictate their views to the rest of us under the guise of religious freedom?
Senator, I support religious freedom, and I would support religious freedom for all of our troops, all of our civilian employees, consistent with the law.
Do you believe that the Religious Freedom Restoration Act should be repealed?
No, Senator.
Why did you say so on June 30th, 2014?
Senator, I support religious freedom, and I would support religious freedom for our troops.
Are you disappointed with Joe Biden that he voted for the Religious Freedom Restoration Act?
No, Senator.
Let's turn to a statement that you had in 2017 where you said the vast majority of white evangelical leaders are utterly unmoored from the gospel of Jesus Christ. The vast majority of white evangelical leaders. What percentage do you mean by the vast majority? Obviously something more than 51% of white evangelical leaders are unmoored from the gospel of Christ. Could you put a number on it?
No, Senator.
Vast means of great extent or quantity, immense. Do you think 95% of white evangelical leaders are unmoored from the gospel of Christ?
No, Senator.
80%?
No, Senator.
70%?
No, Senator.
51%. It has to be 51, right? It has to be at least 51. You said the majority.
Understood, Senator.
Let me ask you this. Why is it white evangelical leaders? There are a lot of black evangelical leaders. There are a lot of Hispanic evangelical leaders. Are black evangelical leaders unmoored from the gospel of Christ?
Senator, I'm not sure the entire context of that, but I would say that there are a wide variety of beliefs. We don't all have the same beliefs. We don't all have the same understanding of the gospel. Of
course we don't. That's why we have things like the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. That's why we respect the freedom of exercise of all of our troops and all of our fellow citizens, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, or any other race or ethnicity, or whatever their religion is. Yet here you are saying in public that the vast majority of white evangelical leaders are utterly unmoored from the gospel of Jesus Christ. Do you think it's appropriate to claim that anyone is unmoored from the gospel of Christ, any believing Christian, even if you disagree with this or that view they may have on a political controversy?
Senator, while it's consistent with free speech, it's unwise.
So, Ms. Fulton, I think you'll understand why so many members of this committee and this Senate do not think you are fit to take over this position. You are going to be in charge of military chaplains. You are nominated to be the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, and you have a long history of offensive, inflammatory accusations against Bible-believing Christians. I will oppose this nomination, and I certainly hope the entire Senate will oppose it as well.